It's now well over 24 hours since I glued this up, so it's had plenty of time to set. I've said it before, but this is a very exciting moment because it's the first time that the individual components that we put together have turned into something new, something that we've designed, something that we've made, and it exists in its own right. It's bigger than its sum parts, and we've created something that's got a function, which is what design's all about. And here we are. It looks very good. That way around, actually. And even at this stage, we could put spice on it and it would be a very nice little product. But we're going to make it even better. And the stage we're going to go through today is making a divider for 2 drawers, and I want that divider to be 40mm like the rest of the components. And we'll set about finding an offcut and we'll make it fit exactly into that cavity, and we'll place it exactly halfway between the 2 outside components. So the first thing I've got to do is to plane a face side on there, then a face edge, and once I've done that I can start marking up the depth of the piece and I can plane it to size. The length I need is 65. Now I've got to make the thickness of this piece of material 14. And that should be it. Really good. And is it nice and flat? Yes, it is. Good. So all I've got to do now is to fit that divider into the drawer cavity. I want this side visible because it matches the grain on here. Settle the plane on the work. Be careful don't take it all the way across, otherwise it'll split out that end. So this is the end that we're going to have visible. I've now got it to a state where that fits into the cavity. I've now got to make sure that the back end fits in that side of the cavity. This end I don't need to touch. This back end I need to remove still. Not bad. I don't know whether you can see, but that's just opening out. This is buckling that a bit. So I could do with taking a little bit more off the middle. Settle the plane. And I can work in a circle to ensure that I don't take anything off either side. I'm also feeling really carefully that I'm not curving that surface. Really important I keep that balanced on the work. See how that works. And I'm pretty happy with that. Now the measurement across here is exactly 269.5 and this is 269.5. So we'll half 269.5, let's calculate it, equals 13475. 13475. And we'll put a mark through there. One, 3, 4, 7, 5. 13475. Good. So this 2 is going to be 13475. 13475. And check it. Good. And if those are in the right place, my square should go through them both, which it does. That's very, very happy feeling. Just take that line across that shelf and across the top, and finally complete the circle. And as they should do, they match up. Having measured the line precisely halfway on the back edge of the work and on the front edge of the work, all I have to do now is to put a halfway mark on the front surface of my divider and the back surface of my divider, so I can position that exactly in the right place. And the way I'm going to do that is to use a marking gauge against my face side. This will be my face side, and this will be my face edge. And providing I get that mark exactly in at the halfway point, then I will be able to position that very accurately. I've got to set my marking gauge to 7, spot on. And then using my face side as my reference, I draw a line along the end grain. That's all I need to do it along. End grain there, and end grain here. If I then put a pencil mark along that line, I can just see the evidence of that pencil mark here and here, and similarly on the other side I can see the evidence there and there, and that enables me to pop that into my carcass so that those very small marks line up exactly with the line, and at the back exactly with the line here and here. And then all I've got to do is to glue this in place, pop some pins in, and the next bit we'll be using a pin hammer and some veneer pins to get this fixed in place. First of all, we'll mark up where we're going to put the pins in. So I'll put a mark 10mm there, 10mm there, and the same on the bottom. We'll put a scriber mark where we put those pencil marks so that we know that the pin we're going to drive in gets a good start, doesn't slip. And I know it seems like overkill to put a 10mm mark there, but we are meant to be doing decent carpentry, so we'll take trouble over things like that. We'll leave our divider in so that the shelf is supported as we knock the pins in. These are veneer pins. They're thinner than panel pins. The disadvantage is they're going to be more liable to bending. Now the secret is to get that pin at a slight angle and to hit it precisely in line with the pin shaft, so that shock waves are sent down the shaft of the pin to the point, and at the point they sort of explode and drive the pin into the material. That's far enough, I'm being really careful to keep the centre line of the hammerhead in line with the centre line of the pin, so that I'm not going to bend it over. It also means that the force of the hammer blow travels down the pin correctly. And I'm resting my hand on the surface of the Workmate, so I'm just flicking at the wrist. We'll get the other one in. Get them in a little bit further. Right, they're just about poking through. That one I can just about feel. We'll put some glue on the end grain. No need to put too much. It's going to wipe off as you put it into the cavity. And now it's really important to line up all those dots with the lines. Great. So I feel confident I can pop those pins in now. Take them down that far and no further, because we'll use a pin punch on there in a minute just to drive those below the surface. These we can drive in vertically. Pop them in far enough that we can still make an adjustment to the divider if necessary for these little pins. You do learn not to actually, two things. You learn not to hit your fingers after a bit. You also learn that as soon as you start knocking a pin over, you chuck it out and you start with a new one, because chances are that that will drive in crooked if you leave it. And finally, we use a pin punch. This is a pin punch, and if you have a look, it's got a little dimple on the end of it, which helps it center on the pin head. And what we're going to do is to use our third finger resting on the work to hold that in place, and then be quite bold with the hammer blow so it doesn't slip off. Something like that. And you want to drive it at least 2 millimeters into the wood, because we'll be planing this later on, and the last thing we want to happen is for our plane to go over the top of that pin. On this bit we need to remember the angle that that pin was going in at, reproduce it, and again be a bit bold with the hammer blows so it doesn't slip off. Again, about 2 millimeters. And there we are, a fixed divider. Next stage, the drawers.